in Ephesians 6 and verse 6. Now watch this. Well, we will have to go back to verse 5. Servants, be obedient to them that are your masters. Okay? And believe it or not, that could be translated to employees, right? Be obedient to them that are your employers. Okay? It's kind of the same thing. We could go there and that'd be a whole sermon by itself. Be obedient to them that are your masters according to the flesh. Masters according to the flesh, right? With fear and trembling, in singleness of your heart, as unto Christ. Not with eye service. In other words, don't just do what they want you to do whenever they're watching you, right? As men pleasers, but as the servants of Christ, doing the will of God from the heart. You hear that? You can, now understand, now in their time, they were talking about slaves, servants, and they had masters. And he said, slaves, servants, do what your masters tell you and do it with all your heart. Do this thing. But now notice he says, do it with, as servants of Christ. So what your master tells you to do, you're doing your master's will. Okay, your employer, as we would say today, you're doing his will, but you're doing it as to Christ, right? And you're doing the will of God from the heart. So now you doing the will of your employer, understand if it's, godly and not, sinful or whatever it is, unethical, then you are doing the will of God in that situation. Why? Because that's conforming you to the image of Christ. You say, how is that happening? You're learning to obey. You're learning to be obedient. You're learning to be how to submit, even sometimes when you don't want to do certain things, right? And so he goes on. Now notice verse 7. With good will doing service as to the Lord and not to men. Now see, if you do it as to men, as he said, with eye service, being men pleasers, then you only get the credit of whatever they see you do. But if you do it as unto him, then even what your boss doesn't see you do, you get credit with God as doing the will of God because you're being obedient, and promotion comes from God, not your boss. Amen? There was a story I heard just recently. There was a woman that went to work at a company, and they were notorious for not having women in higher positions. And she knew that where she was at, she would never really be promoted. And she had a boss that was, apparently the culture was kind of anti-women. And so she had a boss that was derogatory and kind of harsh toward her and kind of treated her, as we would say, kind of treated her like dirt. Used her basically. Told her what to do, bossed her around, that kind of stuff. And so she was praying and God said, I put you there. She said, God, I want to quit. I want to go. Nope, I put you there. And she said, God, but look how I'm being treated. He said, I put you there. And so she stayed. And he said, do it as unto me. And she said, okay, I'm going to get him out of my mind. I'm going to do it as unto you. And she started working and just kind of put her head down and did the job. And lo and behold, shortly after that, her boss took an early retirement. And now get this. He was the only person that knew how to work a certain machine. But because she worked right next to him, she knew how to work it too. Nobody else knew how to work it. So when he retired, she had to be promoted. And she got put in his place. And then she was there. Now notice what she did. Whenever she got in that place, she hired other people, men and women. She taught them how to work the machine. She didn't hide it. See, he hid it because he didn't want somebody to replace him. But she taught everybody in her department how to work the machine. And their department started to really produce and made the company a lot of money. And right after that, the vice president decided to take an early retirement. And she got put in the position of the vice president. Why? Because her department had so prospered, they said, we want her over more of the company. Why? Because she worked as unto the Lord and not as unto the guy that treated her bad. Now think about that. Promotion doesn't come from people. It comes from God. And if the people in your company or wherever you're at won't promote you, God can promote you out of the company to another company that they are looking for people that work as unto the Lord. They don't know that. That might not be in the job description. But if you do that, you will get promoted in that area. Amen?